May the force be with you, bro.
And with you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Bodacious Rant with Burn and Rye. You know, the master and the student. The
I think we're Sith Lords,
I forgot. I was trying to think of a whole thing. I lost it. I got jumbled.
The rule of two, there's two of us. It makes sense. We're both kind of bad. If I want to shoot electricity out of my fingertips, then, hey, I'll do that.
I would try and be like a Jedi, not a Jedi nor a Sith, just a person who has multiple force power. So I could electrocute somebody if I wanted to, but I don't want to unless I really need to.
I'd be like, Shazam, your phone is charged. Your phone is
Oh my god. Just, the Emperor, you will die. Oh god, that's creepy. Anyways, so we are talking about this latest anthology series that came out on Disney Plus last week called Star Wars Visions. I don't know if anyone's heard of it, but I feel like you kind of have to just because we have Disney Plus they actually haven't marketed it too much, to be honest. Like, I feel like that's one of the things you kind of have to like really pay attention for, if that makes sense.
I can't really say. Like, I think if like for people who are like into Star Wars, I'm sure they would have heard of this. For maybe like Disney Plus fans, like I don't know. And for the like in terms of just like general public, it's really hard to say. It's kind of hard to know what's going on outside of this particular nerd bubble that we're kind of like in. But I don't know. I just don't know.
It's definitely, this is a very niche thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like I can only recommend it to either people who love Star Wars and love anime. And outside of that, it is a little, you gotta be open to it. I think this is a series that you have to be more open and willing to watch than, anything. Because I've only recommended to people I know who like Star Wars, like anime stuff.
Yeah.
I can't just recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, that's so. I definitely agree with you. I see it in the same way as I do the Animatrix for the Matrix. Like, if you're a real big fan of the Matrix and you love that stuff, then you have to watch the Animatrix. But it's like, I wouldn't recommend the Animatrix to just like anybody,
I only briefly remember some of the Animatrix. I love the first one because it was like that cool CGI like animation, and then everything else I was like, this is fucking weird. But I have to give that one a try again, especially with the new Matrix movie coming out this year. But anyways, Star Wars Visions is an anthology series, so each story not related to the other. And the trick of this one is it's made by 9 different animation studios. So it literally is different stories within the Star Wars universe, but all different anime styles. And some work, some don't. It really just depends how much anime you like, because there's a lot of similarities with other styles that's around, Like, some things that come off to mind are like Naruto, Ghost in the Shell, Akira, maybe even Dragon Ball Z. And some of the newer animes I'm definitely not up to speed with, because there's so much now. So
yeah,
it encompasses a lot of that. So if you like anime, this is definitely a series for you.
And what I think is really cool about this anime, in this anthology series in particular, instance, the best way to compare it to is to What If, that's been coming out, where What If is like very singular and like it's sort of like its style, and also this one is just very different than that. Like, so in terms of that being the case, I think everyone's gonna have their own favorites, like whatever someone's animation preference. I think everyone's gonna have like a different favorite episode, whereas What If is a little bit more streamlined in a sort of sense. I think this one is a little bit more of like an anthology, like an actual like anthology.
Yeah, just because What If actually is supposed to be more connected and part of something bigger, where, not to say that this isn't, but these are definitely random stories, like definitely things they haven't touched on. And my rating overall for this one, I'm gonna say, is about, I'm gonna give it 3/5, just because there's a lot of strong animation. I love the liberties it took with the Star Wars universe. Again, even though it was very anime and Japanese inspired. So, if you're gonna be one of those guys that's like, why does everything look like Japanese? It's like, it's an anime dipshit. What do you expect it to look like? So, that's just my only answer.
It's like, what did you think you were getting into when you click play?
And overall, majority of the stories are actually pretty solid. There's pieces of them I really like. And then only maybe like one or two I was just thought what was the point of this one? This didn't do anything for me. So that's why I'm giving it such a good rating. And again, I mean, I love anime, I love Star Wars. I'm a Japanese nerd. What can I say?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we were supposed to, like, if we were going to grade it as like like a whole package, you know, like all of them together, I would give it like as a collective, like a 3 out of 5. You know, there's three in particular that really worked for me, like 4 or 5 out of 5s, you know, basically. But then there's like a few that are, you know, the majority of them I would say are like 3 out of 5s, and then maybe like you said, one or two, you know, 2 out of 5. You know, so it's like, I guess like it sort of like balances itself out. Where yeah, it's like as a collective, it's a 3 out of 5 for me. But like you said, like it's just the anthology nature of it. You know, everyone's gonna have their own favorite episode. Like I'm sure my favorite is different than yours, and will be different from like someone else's. So by the nature of that, that's really cool. And I think, you know, there will be something for someone here to enjoy. You know, if they like you said, Star Wars or anime or both. It's like you're not gonna waste your time having watched the whole thing. You know, there'll be at least one or two things you'll walk away from this and being like, that was worth my time.
Absolutely. But why don't we go into the spoiler session? You know, we'll talk about some of our favorite episodes. If we want, we could talk about all of them. We'll see how that goes, my brother. But if you haven't seen any of these, definitely check it out. Just because it is worth. If you love Star Wars, you want anime, you know, you want to see both, this is one for you. They're only like 20 minutes episode each, so it's really like, it's a super quick watch. You could do it all in like a couple hours if you wanted to. So.
Yeah, pretty much.
But let's dive into it. What do you say, my young Padawan?
Yes, let's go on a journey far, far away.
Absolutely. So I think, you know, how do you want to do this, Bern? Do you want to talk about each of them, or should we just go into the ones we liked the most? What are you feeling?
I mean, I think we can hit you know, all of them sequentially. Like, you know, just give your quick little thoughts.
Okay. Well, the first one, the Duel, I really liked it just because, again, the animation was very. It almost, how do I put it? I want to say I've seen this animation style where it's like very, you know, it's very samurai heavy. It's very like it was almost like Batman Ninja. Like Ninja Batman, when that animation where it's like artist, like almost like a moving painting. I don't know how to really describe it, but
yeah, like it has like that 3D animation of like you said, like the Batman Ninja. I'm very curious if it was like you know, one of the same studios that worked on that, but yeah, it was like that, but with sort of the like art design of a Kurosawa movie. You know, like the Seven Samurai type movies, or Yojimbo, you know, like black and white with very harsh blacks and, you know, very, very artistic. It was really nice to look at.
Yeah, the villain was great with her umbrella lightsaber, and then the warrior that was the main character essentially was not Sith nor Jedi. He just had a lot of red kyber crystals, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, like I said, that was definitely one of my favorites for this one. I know it was yours too, so yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that one was really cool. I think it did. Out of all the episodes, I think this one really nailed the duality of Star Wars being, you know, like a western, like a samurai western, you know, and I feel like this whole episode like very much played into that, and I think it did it really well, and the action was really cool. So yeah, this was definitely one of my favorites.
Yes, and then Tatooine Rhapsody is about you know, just a band out in Tatooine trying to evade Boba Fett and, you know, the Jabba the Hutt, his gang essentially, and we find out that the lead singer was a Jedi on the run, and the slug that he partnered with, I guess, did something to the Hutts. I kind of forgot, to be honest, but
he did something that got him in trouble with the Hutts.
It's the animation that won it more for me, but the more I thought about it, even though this is kind of just a random story, a very average story in the world of Star Wars, it still worked for me. Like, I was like, you know what, I wouldn't mind seeing this as a movie just because it reminded me very much of Solo, where like a kid's kind of on the run, kind of brought up in this criminal underworld, and he's trying to do the right thing by somebody. And the animation, it was very childlike. I can't quite put my finger on what I've seen this as well, but it still worked for me. I thought it was pretty solid.
Yeah, this one is probably my least favorite, or one of my least favorite.
I felt like that was coming. I'm like, you know what? I don't know if Bernie liked this one. At first, I was like, it's all right. But the more, like I said, the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I don't mind watching it again.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the animation, I thought, again, across the board, the animation was really good. So that wasn't an issue for me here. I think the premise itself is very interesting of, this Padawan who escaped Order 66 and then starts a band. I thought this like very different for a Star Wars, type story. And I was very interested, but it just felt like for me, it just didn't deliver on that aspect of it being like really like adventurous and like whimsical. It just kind of happened, and like it came and it went, and it could be one of those things. Maybe I just wasn't like in the mood, but it was like it just didn't do anything like to get me invested in this character's story. So it's just one of those things that kind of came and went, and I was just like, well, I wish I liked that more.
I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't like this series as much as I should have, is because they were too dang short. As much as I like something quick to consume, when it comes to stuff like this, when like a very well-known property, sometimes you have to give a little bit more for it to really soak in. Like What If? Some of those stories are way too short for their own good, and it's like I can't get invested in it, or it doesn't feel fleshed out because it's so short. So
yeah, I mean, yeah. For me, I do think that a lot of these episodes feel a little bit more complete than What If, where I feel like there's definitely like a beginning and end to these stories, whereas kind of What If sort of like ends where you're just like
I just thought of what's your problem.
What's your problem? But like I think What If kind of like with their cliffhangers, it feels like it's incomplete, where you're just like, oh, well, I felt like I just watched like half an episode. Here I feel like they do a better job of having a story and like kind of wrapping it up, again with a little bit of a tease of there could potentially be more, but I feel like for here, it does a little bit more of a better job than What If does in that aspect.
I think a good portion of these, like the Duel, I could definitely see being continued on, and a couple other ones. But let's move on. The Twins, I think, is my second favorite episode, just because I really liked, the influences like Darth Vader, and the animation reminded me very much of almost like Naruto, a little bit here and there. I just like the character design for them, like the girls, robot, like Grievous arms with other lightsabers, and it was a very nice story. I'm like, this is almost a dark version of what Luke and Leia could have been had they been raised by Darth Vader, and I think that's what they were kind of saying. Is like, oh yeah, what if we just did that? So yeah, I think this one it just really caught me by surprise. I really liked what their powers were. And it was just a visual delight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did really like those parallels, like you said, to like the Luke and Leia story. If it was kind of like a what if version of what that story could have been if it was differently. But yeah, I think this one, out of all of them, does a little bit more to suspend the disbelief. Where
yeah, because they're just fighting in space, talking and breathing. I'm like, it's anime. I give up at this point.
At first, I was like, I'm not digging this, but then after like it kept going for a while, I was like, you know what? Fuck
just
it.
accept it. That's exactly what I was saying.
I just kind of enjoy this. Like, Alison Brie and I think Neil Patrick Harris were the voice actors in this one, and I was just like, okay.
I was like, but can we breathe in space now? Like,
I was like, hold on a second.
I'm sure someone's watching this and like, well, you're more than welcome to try, dumbass. And I'm like, all right.
And then just how they like play with the lightsaber lanes, and just like it's a huge like beam cutting an entire like Star Destroyer in half. I was like, okay, it's so ridiculous. Like it's just kind of wearing out on his sleeve, and I gotta respect that.
Again, you definitely have to suspend your reality when it comes to Star Wars, even in Star Wars stuff, because it's all fiction.
Yeah.
So you just have to have fun with it. But the Village Bride, I think I like that style a lot. That was definitely more like Naruto for me, just because it's simple, but it's got a lot of detail to it. Beautifully drawn shapes, very clean looking. But to be honest, it was a little not so memorable of a story.
Yeah.
So it's not bad, but obviously, the biggest thing with this whole show, this whole series, is that they all have memorable Jedi warriors for the most part. Like the sister or the friend or something was the Jedi, and she was pretty badass. So I really liked I really liked that moment too.
Yeah, she was really cool. With the whole mask thing and like taking off and like doing the whole like samurai like unsheathing and like slicing the dude at the end when he was about to like execute the girl. I thought that was cool. Like it was a nice, like, again, a little bit play on like the Western trope of, this town kind of being oppressed by like these like bandits essentially. And again, like, I think it did that really cool. But as you said, it's one of those that kind of just came and went, and you're like, that was nice, but it wasn't like anything to write home about.
Yeah, it was almost like a female Braveheart.
Well, I mean, she didn't get her head chopped off at the end, so...
No, but she fought against people terrorizing. You know what? Forget it. I get it. I'm just going to shut my mouth and just... You shut your mouth when you talk to me.
Listen to my face and hear... Oh, wait.
Hear my face and see nothing. Listen to my voice and look... I don't know. I forgot what they were talking about. Anyways, I think my favorite one overall is the Ninth Jedi, which is the one after the Village Bride, the fifth one of the series where... not 8 Jedi get called to this planet by the Margrave, who easily looks like a villain.
Yeah.
I think this one, is the best written one because it really has some good twist to it. Yeah. Just like, surprise twist, a twist again, a third twist, what?
As Detective Pikachu say, that's very twisty.
Just because you think the Margrave's a bad guy with the robot mask, there's a tall ass droid there, and then we find out that this saber smith and his daughter,
Simu Liu,
they're making them for.
Actually.
Oh, that was Simu Liu.
Yeah.
Okay, they were making these lightsabers for incoming Jedi, thinking like, okay, that's fine, and I like that little detail that. This is my favorite one, so I'm going really into detail.
Oh, yeah.
How each lightsaber, the guy designed it, like each kyber crystal will be in tune with the ones tied to the Force, whether it be an actual strong with the Force, whether they be evil, good, whatever. And then the biggest twist was when the Margrave's a good guy. It's like, oh yeah, I've grown up with the Margrave. He's saved us. It's like, oh, the Darth Vader guy's a good guy. So then what do that make these Jedi? And then they all had the red lives. I was like, oh, you motherfuckers. Yeah, it was, oh, that's a really great story.
It was the opposite twist. It wasn't like, these people get brought in and it's like, oh, Margaret's a bad guy and, he wipes them all out. I was like, no, he was a good guy. He was fishing them all out, like letting them come out into the light and just taking them all out. That was dope.
Yeah, I like that. The one cool one who kind of looked like a giant bear Pokemon thing. He was like, I'm sorry, I kind of lost it.
He got lost in the sauce.
Yeah, like, pretty much. And but his lightsaber, like, he's just like, no, I serve you, Margrave. And it's like, that's one I would definitely want to see get another episode. That needs a sequel as well. I think I would love to see the Duel, this one, and at least the one more we'll talk about be like have another sequel coming. After this one was TOB1, which at first I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've seen. It reminded me very much of like Mega Man and Astro Boy.
Yes.
Just because it's about this droid child by this tinker. You think he's just like a Pinocchio kind of guy, and instead we find out that his maker's a Jedi, and he's just living quietly. His father dies, essentially the Jedi father, but it was a really heartwarming story. It's not my favorite one, but I ended up really liking it when it was finished, just because so heartwarming that this droid just finished his dad's work in creating life on this planet, and his dad's just like, the Force will be with you. It was like, oh, the droid's a Jedi too? Like C-3PO can be a Jedi? That's crazy. But I just like the story overall. I think it's definitely one of the nicer ones, like one of the more well-written ones of all of them.
Yeah, it's one of the more heartwarming stories for sure, and I think that's due to a lot of the fact that that this is, like you said, is basically like a Pinocchio story, and the animation itself was very it felt like very Disney, with a lot of like the roundness of the characters and like how they looked. It felt like
the small black eyes kind of.
Yeah, it felt like like a Japanese animation studio's like their take on what a Disney, like a 2D animated Disney movie would be, and yeah, like you said, it was very charming. One of the things that bothered me though was, I don't know if it was the same case for you, but I don't think it was like my TV, but it felt like the sound design or the sound mixing in this episode in particular felt kind of weak. Like a lot of the effects, especially in the fight at the end, it felt very like muted. Like it was kind of like you were hearing them through like a water, like if they were happening underwater. Like it was just very odd. Like I felt things should feel like a little bit more like snappy and punchy, but it just felt kind of like, To be honest, I didn't really quite pay attention, but I've also
again, as much as I like the story, some of it was very unmemorable. So I mean, I just wasn't something I really caught. I'm sure if I watched it again, I'll be like, God damn it, he's right.
Yeah, people.
This episode's a failure. Scrap it.
Just
get rid of the studio. Dissolve them.
Just keep an ear out next time. Like, if people want to do like a rewatch, and let me know if it's just me. I don't know, but it was just one of those things. I was like, huh, this just seems kind of odd to the ear.
You should speak a little louder. I'm trifle deaf in this year. I'm just like Willy Wonka. I'm sorry, sir. All questions must be submitted in writing. Oh, if you have a telephone, dial the number. Thank you for calling. God rest Gene Wilder. Anyways, I think, and then one of the last few, The Elder, that was again one of the coolest ones.
Yeah.
Just because very creepy. Actually, I think this had the scariest villain of all. And I think this one may have been my favorite, to be honest, besides the twins. I think this is the one that got me just because the villain was so good. Like, that's exactly what you imagine when you see a Sith. And, he made Emperor Palpatine just look like a creepy old white guy, not gonna lie. I like that it's a master and a Padawan. They come to this planet where at first they felt something horrible, but when they get there, there's nothing. It's like, no, because someone must have sensed us and now is hiding their presence. So it almost felt very much like The Witch in a way, where it's like a slow burning horror right until you see the guy, especially because the Padawan, he sees this creature like that you shouldn't be able to kill so easily, just hundreds of them dead in this field. It's like, get out of there, like, come on back. It's like, okay. And you see this creepy old guy right behind him. It's like, oh shit, like, who the hell are you? And just as creepy, the smile, and then when it zooms in on him because he's like coming at you, you see the Sith eyes. I was like, oh yeah. God, this is scary. This is not happening. But it was just very fun action. Again, great villain, and it was very much Kurosawa for me, where there's two samurai, one's training to be one, he tries to kill him, and then the OG samurai comes and is like, no, I'm the samurai. I'm ready to kill you. And it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, this one is definitely one of my favorites. I can't decide whether this one or the Ninth Jedi are my favorite, but I think, like you said, I think this one in particular does a real good job, and I think it uses the time that it has to tell a really, like, economic story. Like, we get a lot of the stuff that we need to know just based on the visuals alone. Just the fact that, that the fact that they're a master and an apprentice, Jedi, and they're wearing the robes, so you can kind of like surmise that, okay, this seems like around the Clone Wars era, like time, the time when there was a bunch of Jedi. So it's like, okay, there's
the kid had the little braid thing too.
He had the little apprentice braid, so it's like, okay, cool. Like immediately you already know like what's kind of going on in the bigger like universe around this time. So again, like the visual storytelling in this episode in particular was really well done, and yeah, I mean, like as you said, just the villain himself was just like very, very scary. Like, this basically this relic from a past that's just refused to die, after all this time. And this master and apprentice are just kind of happen upon him, like because of him sensing him. It's like, okay, like we're like you said, it was a nice little slow burn to this final confrontation at the end, which was, again, the style of the fight was like really well done. Where I really like that move where he like deactivates his lightsaber and then activates it to like kill him. I was like, oh man, it's just the style of this was so cool.
Classic move. So that was really cool.
And that was David Harbour too, the master. I was like, oh shoot, good job.
I did not capture any of these voices. You're naming these names. I'm like, man, I really am deaf. I'm just like,
so it wasn't my ears. It was that episode.
I'm just like, I'm like Dylan. Just sugar cookie, man. This is crazy. Just that's every time. That's all I think about when you tell me these great actors are behind it. Just. The second to last one, I think, had my favorite animation overall, and I think yours too. Lop and Ocho, in which it's really showing what the Empire has done to the galaxy and how it claims to help these planets and stuff like that, but really it's just, destroying natural resources and colonizing these planets. And this father and daughter adopt this alien, this rabbit like creature. And she becomes part of the family, just because the daughter especially like, oh, we should take her home, she'll be part of the family. And as they grow up, the daughter becomes very imperialistic. The father doesn't want anything to do with it. It kind of it almost reminded me of like Tarzan a little bit, like the Disney version where, Tarzan's get adopted and Urchak Kerchak, there we go. He doesn't want anything to do with Tarzan. But in the end, they end up coming together, just melded together as a family unit. And the fight at the end was really fun where the father gave Lop their family lightsaber. It looks like a samurai. So I like that a lot of these sabers look like samurai swords. Again, footnote, just full warning, this isn't Japanese anime, so it's very Japanese inspired.
Yeah.
So if that doesn't click with people when they watch it, it's like, you really don't know culture, do you?
Yeah, and I mean, I guess what you can say about that is that, this is very much, a Japanese anime, and a lot of these stories, they could work without the bigger, Star Wars paintbrush, like if they were just like, they could very much like be their own things, like, just, these different people like going through these like pretty like very, very much like inspired, like Japanese samurai inspired stories or like Western inspired stories. Like it didn't have to have that Star Wars thing to work, just the fact that it has that Star Wars coated paint on it is what makes it like that much cooler.
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars, like, George Lucas took a lot of influence from like movies like Kurosawa's and other war movies and stuff like that. So that's why Star Wars has always had a bit of a Japanese flavor to it. And these animations do a really good job of showing like, yeah, here's what our animation could really fuse with it. But yeah, you make a great point. These stories don't have to work with Star Wars. These could all just be, different fantasy stories and with just regular swords and stuff. So that's a very good point, my friend. But yeah, like I said, this animation just reminded me very much of old school 80s anime. Basically stuff I grew up with, like Gundam, Ghost in the Shell, Akira, some of the Cowboy Bebop. It was very old school, and that's always been my favorite animation to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like we grew up watching essentially the same things, so it stands to reason. Like we would like this one in particular in terms of animation. Like you said, the stories like it is really good, but it's just like one of those things where you're like, okay, like it was fine while it lasted, but it's like I don't think I need to see more of this particular story. It's like
it's already done with.
Yeah, it was cool seeing like a little bit of a different perspective though of like someone who would welcome the Empire onto their home planet to seeing like that they would be like or them believing it would be like a positive impact on their their community. So it's kind of like, okay, like that's not a perspective you usually get to see in a lot of these Star Wars stories. So I thought that was like a really nice touch.
If you're Anakin, you definitely see it from that girl's point of view. But
well, I mean,
we saw what happened to him.
He wasn't welcoming the Empire. It was wanting that dark side magic to save the waifu.
Well, he was wrong.
Oh yeah, he was.
Your mother was wrong. Just okay. And then the last one was definitely the weakest one to end the whole show on, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Akikiri, where this Jedi's called back home to, to fight with the woman he loves to save him from this opposing force. And it just complete weak sauce. I didn't care for the animation at all. It felt super bland, super slow. It just didn't work for me overall. And I just didn't care for it completely. Compared to the other stories we saw, it was the weakest one.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that is it felt like we were just kind of dropped into the middle of a story. We kind of really got like very little to no context of like who this guy is, and like we do get a little bit hints of like him and his backstory with the girl that he's like on this journey with. But it's like I really wish we could have like maybe seen a little bit more or something. Again, it just didn't give me enough to care about this character or whatever was happening in this situation. So it was just one of those things that kind of just came and went, and it's like well. It's unfortunate that this was the last episode because it felt like a little bit of a weak note to end on.
Yeah. But besides that, overall, it's a solid series. I wouldn't mind if they do another one where they just keep playing around with animations and stories, or keep some of these stories going. But overall, if it's just a one-off, it still works. It's a taste of anime, and then you get your Star Wars flavor going with that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope if they want to make I do think they should continue this particular Vision series as a little bit of a way for other, Japanese animation studios to sort of like dip their toes into the Star Wars universe. But I also think like it does lend itself to hopefully, them having like their own anime series for ones that, sort of work for the, the general population, where like if one particular episode just kind of like captures the zeitgeist, like something like, The Elder or the Ninth Jedi, like I would love to like see like full on series for those.
Or even see him live action. Just make Keanu Reeves the guy from the Duel, and we got something going.
I mean, just, Keanu just needs to be in everything. Like, can we just make that happen? Let's just make that happen already.
He's such a gem of a person, and I'm surprised he hasn't won like 50 Academy Awards by now. He's the Kirk Lazarus of our generation. He's no different than a rugby player, surgeon, but safe to say that his tools trigger human emotion. All right, but that's all I got. What about you, Bern? You good?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've said all we can say about it. Cool series for sure. Like, definitely, I would like to see a lot more.
Absolutely, I would definitely welcome more. Will we get more? I have no idea. I'm fine if we don't, but I'd be open to it.
Yeah,
so.
And you know what? I'd be open for a lot of other popular properties to sort of lend their license out to a lot of these other like animation studios and seeing what they would do with it. It's such a really cool idea, and I feel like they don't do that enough. And hopefully this series is successful enough for maybe to like Marvel or DC or like any of these bigger known properties to sort of just like kind of like what Batman Ninja did. It's like it's just let other people work with our toys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's been successful so far, letting these other studios work with popular stuff, like big IPs. So why not? Let's let it happen. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, leave a like, comment, subscribe, share us around with people. It's okay to share. Sharing is caring after all. And we'll keep an ear out for not only the final What If episode, Venom 2 comes out this weekend, which Hot Toys just dropped Carnage. So if you're a fellow collector, that may be one for you to snag.
Yeah,
so
prepare the wallet.
Prepare the wallet, prepare the wall space, everything. You gotta make some room, make some sacrifices.
Oh, yeah.
But until next time, stay bodacious, keep on renting, stay safe. Halloween is upon us, so we'll be talking some more horror movies this upcoming month. And Bern, I'll see you later.
All right, man. I'll see you then, everybody. May the force be with y'all.
It will be with you always.